I'm Mist Moon 24, and right now I'm frozen in the driveway, staring at my life unraveling like confetti blown by a hurricane. My clothes, thrown violently from the upstairs window, flutter to the concrete like mocking petals in a nightmare. Out comes my mom, Blaze Moon, roaring across the lawn, her hand slamming the glass window shut so hard it rattles the frames. Behind her, my dad, Ken Moon, plants himself at the door, fists clenched, posture rigid, barking orders. I've only seen when the house burned down in the metaphorical sense, anger radiating, unyielding. And then there's Fog, my 17-year-old brother. He clutches Mom's arm, whispering something soft and comforting, but his glance flicks to me. Pure victory. Like he's won a war I didn't even know was being waged. This morning, we high-fived over breakfast. This morning, I belonged here. Today, I am the invader in my own home. Garage lights blaze as neighbors appear, phones out, filming every second. I step forward, voice trembling, ready to argue, ready to defend myself. Dad shoves a cardboard box at my feet. Here, pack it, leave. Fog's lips curl just for me, a slow, malicious smile that tastes like betrayal. The box is heavy, engine revving, like the world itself is holding its breath. I lift it. One burning question eats me alive. What lies did he feed them to flip our world upside down? 4 years ago, everything was different. 4 years ago, life was simple. Grandma left me this house in Denver when I turned 20. A sprawling, two-story sunlit place with a garage big enough for Dad to tinker, a backyard sloping toward the mountains that whispered freedom. I was fresh out of college, landing a graphic design gig I could do from anywhere. I thought, this is it. This is my haven. Mom and Dad were cramped in a downtown apartment. Fog was bouncing between schools, 13 and restless. I sat them down over pizza, 2-liter soda sweating on the table, and said, "Move in with me. There's room for everyone." They jumped at the chance. Within a month, trucks arrived, boxes stacked high, and suddenly the house breathed. Weeknights became ritual, dinners around the oak table, laughter spilling between steak grilled on the patio, and salads tossed with precision. Fog set plates without being asked, earned nicknames from the neighbors, integrated seamlessly into the life I imagined as mine. Weekends were adventure. Hikes up nearby trails, SUVs packed with snacks, Fog shouting, "Sis!" from across the parking lot whenever he spotted elk. I'd ruffle his hair, promise hot chocolate on the way back. He'd grin, teeth still crooked from braces, the universe contained in those small moments. I worked from my upstairs office, laptop glowing like a beacon, while Fog knocked for homework help. Algebra stumped him. I drew diagrams, charts, and sketches until concepts clicked. Tests aced, bragging to friends about his genius sister. I bought sneakers when his old ones split. Gaming headset for his birthday. Phone bills covered so he could stay connected. Mom beamed during parent-teacher conferences. "Responsible girl," she'd say, voice warm as cinnamon. Dad clapped my back after every project deadline. "House is in good hands," he'd nod. For a while, everything felt perfect, until the cracks appeared. The first signs were subtle. Fog began asking for more, slowly, testing boundaries. $20 here for a movie, $50 there for new cleats. I gave it all without hesitation. After all, he's my brother, my house, my responsibility. Then came the bigger asks. Around his 16th birthday, he cornered me in the kitchen one evening, eyes glued to a sleek SUV ad on his phone. "Sis, this is the one my friends have. I need it for school runs and practice." I shook my head. "Way over budget. We can find something reliable for $5,000. You can chip in with a summer job." His face darkened instantly. Stormed upstairs, door slamming hard enough to rattle the cabinets. Mom pulled me aside that night. "He doesn't deserve anything small," she said, voice trembling. You can't make him feel tiny. I tried explaining the difference, but Mom cut me off. Dad glanced over from the living room, eyebrows furrowed. He's sensitive right now, he muttered. And that's when it clicked. Fogg had mastered the art of the private smile and the public performance. He approached me with casual warmth, then the moment a parent appeared, he morphed into the victim. Months passed. One-word answers replaced chatter. Morning breakfast burritos? Nah. Movie night? Pass. Homework help? I've got it. I tried to bridge the gap, persistently, patiently, even pushed gently in the garage. What's going on? I asked. We used to talk. He shrugged. Nothing. You're busy. Meanwhile, Mom's tone iced over, accusing. Do you even love your brother? She demanded in the hallway, eyes boring into mine. Fogg stood nearby, nodding along. Each accusation, tiny but relentless, chipped away at the trust we'd built. Then, the line crossed. 4 months ago, a small lie became a weapon. I walked into the living room one evening to find my parents waiting, dim lights casting long shadows. Fogg sat between them, sleeve pushed up, revealing a dark mark on his forearm. Mom clutched a tissue, eyes red. Dad's arms folded, knuckles white. Close the door, Dad said. He showed them a photo, time-stamped, 9:47 p.m. She shoved me down the basement stairs, he said, voice breaking. I stepped closer. Check my laptop. I was on a video call with a client until 10 o'clock. Mom shook her head, sobbing. He came to me after, shaking. You screamed at him first. Dad's phone played the clip. My voice boomed, distorted, overlaid with a thud. The mark appeared real, convincing. I reached for the phone. Let me see the source! He jerked it away. We've heard enough. What did you do to him? I never laid a hand on him, I pleaded, pointing at the carpeted stairs. This is impossible. Mom clutched Fogg tighter. Stop blaming him. He's the victim here. And just like that, the family I built, the life I fought to create, evaporated. I stood frozen, the driveway cold beneath my feet, neighbors recording, engines revving, the world watching. Betrayal tasted metallic in my mouth. Fogg's victory grin burned in my mind, a scar deeper than any bruise. The box at my feet was heavy. The question remained, how did it come to this? How had I been erased from the home I'd made ours? And most importantly, how would I fight back? I carried the box into the garage, the weight pressing into my chest like it was made of lead instead of cardboard. The neighbors' phones glowed through the windows, recording every move, every shuffle of my feet. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Every plan I'd ever made to protect my home, my family, seemed to dissolve in the early evening cold. Fogg's grin haunted me. That smug, victorious smirk. I wanted to punch something, anything, but my hands remained clenched at my sides. The truth was mine, but the perception, the narrative he controlled, was already etched in my parents' minds. He had poisoned them slowly, carefully, until the truth was invisible. I collapsed onto the floor of the garage, the box beside me like a tombstone marking the life I thought I had. My mind raced back to the early days, when Fogg was just a kid scrambling for attention and approval, a little brother I could nurture without question. When we first moved in, he was 13, energetic, curious, a little reckless. I had spent hours helping him with homework, teaching him algebra with doodles and sketches, explaining concepts until they clicked in his head. I bought him new sneakers when his old ones split. I got him a gaming headset for his birthday. I even covered his phone bills so he could stay connected with friends. Every act of care was invisible, taken for granted, but I didn't care. I loved him. I still do. For months, everything was perfect. Mom and Dad were content. Weeknights were dinner at the oak table. Weekends were hikes. Fogg would call, "Sis," from across the parking lot whenever he spotted elk, grinning with crooked braces, pure joy radiating from him. But somewhere along the line, the perfection cracked. I didn't notice it at first. It started with small things, extra money requests, $20 here for a movie, $50 there for new cleats. I gave it willingly. He was my brother, my family. I thought generosity was part of what I had built here. Then came the bigger asks. Around his 16th birthday, he cornered me in the kitchen one evening, phone in hand, eyes wide and pleading. "Sis, this is the one my friends have. I need it for school runs and practice." I scanned the ad. $15,000. My stomach sank. Way over budget. We can find something reliable for $5,000. You can chip in with a summer job. His face darkened instantly. He slammed the kitchen door, the sound rattling through the house. That night, Mom pulled me aside. "He doesn't deserve anything small. You can't make him feel tiny." I tried explaining. I tried reasoning. She wouldn't listen. Dad waved it off. "He's sensitive right now." And that's when I realized. He had learned how to play them. The private smile, the public tear, the perfect performance. Days turned into weeks. I noticed the pattern. He would approach me with casual warmth, questions about school, jokes about video games, late-night conversations about essays or music. Then the moment Mom appeared, he transformed. He hunched his shoulders, voice soft, eyes glimmering with false vulnerability. "Sis doesn't want me around anymore," he'd whisper, making sure Mom was within earshot. I overheard fragments of their conversations, Mom and Fogg whispering in the den, voices dropping whenever I entered. Once, I caught Mom muttering, "He hates seeing you happy." My chest sank. Every hug skipped me. Every pat on the back landed on him. Every smile from Dad seemed reserved only for Fogg. I began doubting myself. Was I too harsh? Was I failing as a sister, as a daughter? The subtle accusations piled up quietly. She mocked my grades to her friends. I never did. She hid the remote to mess with my shows. Ridiculous. She snapped at me over chores. I managed laundry, dishes, yard work, everything, and still they believed him. Then 4 months ago, it escalated. 2 weeks ago, the final straw. I walked in one evening to a dimly lit living room. Mom and Dad were waiting. Fogg sat between them, sleeve pushed up, revealing a dark mark on his left forearm. Mom's eyes were red, hands trembling as she clutched a tissue. Dad's arms were folded tight enough to turn his knuckles white. "Close the door," Dad said. Fogg held up his phone. "This is from last night." The video played, a shaky clip of me yelling, my voice booming, followed by a thud and a cry. The mark on his arm was visible. My stomach dropped. "I didn't touch him," I said, stepping closer. "Check my laptop. I was on a video call with a client until 10 o'clock. Mom shook her head, sobbing. "He came to me right after, shaking. You screamed at him first." Dad's phone played the clip. My words boomed, distorted by edits. My hands were trembling, my heart pounding. I reached for the phone. "Let me see the source!" He jerked it away. "We've heard enough. What did you do to him?" "I never laid a hand on him. Look at the stairs, they're carpeted. No way that mark came from a fall." Mom clutched him tighter. "Stop blaming him, he's the victim here." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This was bigger than lies. This was manipulation perfected over years. Fogg had poisoned the well slowly, subtly, until my parents' perception of reality was completely distorted. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I replayed every interaction, every smile, every favor I had done for him, every small lie he told, every tear he shed strategically. My mind refused to rest. I began tracking finances, small gaps in our shared account for groceries and utilities, always excused away by Fogg with stories of lost wallets, school fees, team dues. I confronted him once, voice low, so Mom and Dad wouldn't hear. "I'll pay it back someday," he muttered, eyes glued to his phone. I let it slide. I didn't want another argument. But the cracks were widening. The poison was spreading. I started noticing the pattern of deceit in everyday life. Conversations halted when I entered a room. Hugs skipped me. Dad's goodnight pats landed on fog. I doubted my own memory. Had I been harsh without realizing it? The whispers spread in small, almost invisible waves, but their effect was devastating. By the time the driveway incident happened, the thrown clothes, the box at my feet, the neighbors filming, it was the culmination of months of subtle poison. Every act of kindness I had given, every sacrifice I had made, was twisted into evidence of guilt. Every laugh, every shared meal, every quiet night helping with homework became a weapon he wielded expertly. And yet, I refused to give up. I may have been outnumbered, outmaneuvered, but I was not broken. Somewhere beneath the humiliation, the fear, the betrayal, I felt a spark, the determination to reclaim my home, my family, and my truth. I picked up the box again. The weight didn't matter anymore. It symbolized more than possessions. It symbolized the battle I hadn't chosen but was now forced to fight. I could see Fogg's smug grin, hear Mom's whispered reassurances to him, feel Dad's disappointment. But I would fight. I would uncover the truth. And I would make them see it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my upstairs office, laptop open, light from the screen cutting through the darkness like a blade. Outside, Denver streets were quiet, but inside, my thoughts screamed. Fogg's smug grin, Mom's tear-streaked face, Dad's rigid disbelief. They haunted me relentlessly. Every memory replayed in slow motion. The way Fogg had smiled while twisting stories. The way Mom clutched him like he was made of glass. The way Dad refused to see through it. The video. That damned video. The proof of innocence I never had a chance to show. My voice booming, his thud perfectly timed. My words taken out of context, spliced, manipulated. I couldn't even prove it was edited without access to the raw file. And of course, Dad wouldn't give me the phone. "We've seen enough," he said, dismissive, his eyes avoiding mine. Opened my work laptop, heart racing. For weeks I'd been tracking everything. Bank statements, small gaps in the grocery account, chat histories, timestamps on emails, delivery receipts. I'd noticed little things, a missing $200 for the school trip, a sudden surge in phone data charges, receipts that didn't line up with Fogg's stories. And now, everything pointed to one inescapable truth. He was staging incidents, lying systematically, and poisoning my parents' perception of reality. I started with the finances. Every month, I transferred money for groceries and utilities into a shared account, the one we all drew from. For years, the balance made sense, always enough for bills. But last summer, I noticed discrepancies, $50 here, $100 there. Fogg's excuses were always creative. Lost wallet, team dues, school fees I already paid. I let the smaller amounts slide at first, thinking it was teen chaos. But the pattern hardened as the months passed. I confronted him once, quietly, in the garage. "Where's the money from last week?" I asked, voice low, careful. He shrugged, eyes glued to his phone. "I'll pay it back." I let it go. That was the mistake. Letting him slide had only trained him further. Next, I reviewed his social interactions. I went through chat logs, text messages, emails, anything that could be proof of intent. His messages were riddled with subtle manipulation. He would plan small conflicts, wait for the perfect moment to feel hurt, then relay them to Mom, with his carefully timed tears, hushed whispers, and heartbroken expressions. Even the neighbors were unknowingly complicit. Fogg had learned to play an audience. A text to one friend. "Sis yelled at me again. She's mean." A Snapchat to another. "Mom's scared of me being sad." Each message, seemingly innocent, painted me as the villain. I realized then what he had perfected over the years: the illusion, the invisible strings he pulled carefully, subtly, until everyone danced to his narrative. And then came the turning point: concrete proof. It was late one night, after Fogg had gone to bed. I checked the cloud storage he used for his school projects. And there it was: a folder labeled Mias, time-stamped, with the original video clips from his phone. My pulse raced as I clicked. The raw footage showed the entire incident: me on a video call with a client, my voice calm, gesturing, nothing aggressive. Fogg staged the thud by dropping a heavy backpack behind him, then quickly cut the video, spliced my words over it, and showed the manipulated clip to Mom and Dad. Every step was deliberate, every moment calculated. I leaned back, shaking. The betrayal stung like acid. He had turned my parents against me, built an airtight narrative of victimhood, and almost succeeded. I spent the next few weeks meticulously gathering everything: receipts from online purchases, timestamps on messages, even photos from the trail hikes we'd taken. Anything to show that Fogg's behavior had been escalating for months. Each piece of evidence felt like reclaiming a small fragment of the truth. Mom and Dad, meanwhile, were increasingly distant. Every time I tried to present logic, they dismissed it. "He's sensitive. He's going through a phase. He didn't mean it that way." It wasn't just disbelief, it was complicity born of manipulation. And I knew Fogg was watching, waiting, calculating, feeding them exactly the right emotions, at exactly the right moments. One evening I caught a small victory. I overheard him on the phone with a friend. "Yeah, she freaked out, Mom believes me. It's perfect. Just wait until the next round." I froze, heart hammering. He wasn't just lying, he was plotting. Every incident, every accusation, every tear strategically timed. He had trained my parents over years, teaching them exactly how to react. And the horrifying thing? They had. I realized I had to be careful. I couldn't just confront him or my parents directly. If I did, Fogg would twist it again. I needed undeniable evidence, indisputable proof. So I compiled everything: raw video files showing the staged falls, chat histories proving premeditation, financial records proving he was misusing shared funds, photos and timestamps from hikes, school events, and birthdays showing inconsistencies in his claims. It was exhausting. It was demoralizing. It was infuriating. But it was necessary. Then came the test. I needed to see how Fogg reacted when he thought he was safe, when he believed no one could catch him. I left a subtle breadcrumb, an online post disguised as a school project upload. It mentioned a funny prank in the garage video. The next day, I checked the file access logs. He had opened it. He smirked in my peripheral vision that evening, unaware I had the proof, the timestamp, the evidence of his reaction. I realized then, the only way to reclaim control was to play the game his way, carefully, strategically, calmly. Evidence would be my weapon, precision my shield. That night, I couldn't sleep again. My mind raced with strategies, the weight of betrayal pressing on my chest. The house, once my sanctuary, now felt like a minefield. Every door, every hallway, every interaction could be a trap. I knew the next move had to be decisive. Fogg had spent years turning me into the villain. Now, I had the tools to turn the narrative back. But I also knew one thing. Once the truth came out, nothing would be the same. Not the family, not the house, not me. And I was ready. The morning sun cut through the blinds in thin, precise stripes, painting the office floor with lines that felt like bars. I had spent hours the night before, going over evidence, mapping out every lie, every staged moment, every manipulation Fogg had orchestrated. My chest felt heavy with anticipation, but also a strange calm. I was finally ready. I reviewed the evidence one more time: raw video files of the staged falls, screenshots of conversations proving premeditation, financial statements, receipts, and timestamps showing how he had been misusing money and staging incidents for months. Every detail meticulously cataloged, each file a bulletproof argument, each timestamp a nail in the coffin of his lies. Today I was going to expose him, not in anger, not with shouting, but with undeniable proof. I started with subtle groundwork. First, I needed witnesses, neighbors and friends who had seen glimpses of the escalating tensions without understanding the full scope. I sent texts to a few who had been around during hikes and weekends. Hey, can you recall when Fogg claimed things that didn't happen? I need context for a project. The wording was casual, unassuming, but it served my purpose. Over the past weeks, I collected dozens of testimonies, short messages from friends, neighbors, and classmates confirming Fogg's inconsistencies. They didn't know they were aiding me in a larger battle, but their statements would be crucial in reinforcing my case. Next, I printed every document, every screenshot, every receipt. I organized them by category: financial deception, staged incidents, digital manipulation, and behavioral patterns. Each pile was a tangible representation of the invisible war Fogg had waged against me. The sheer volume of evidence made the enormity of his betrayal undeniable. I didn't confront him yet. Not openly. He was clever, calculating. He would twist any argument to his advantage if he felt cornered. So I began dropping small hints, testing the waters. "Hey, Fogg," I said casually one afternoon, leaning against the doorway of his room. "Did you happen to see the old footage from last month? I think there's something interesting in it." He froze, eyes narrowing. "Footage? What are you talking about?" I smiled lightly. "Oh, nothing. Just going through old files. You might want to check your stuff too." The smirk he gave me was sharp, but I caught the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He didn't realize that I had already documented every interaction, every lie. Every attempt to manipulate me had been captured, cataloged, and was ready to be revealed. The first real test came that evening during dinner. Mom had set the table meticulously, her hands trembling slightly. Dad's expression was neutral, almost unreadable, as if he was still processing the past incidents. Fogg sat across from me, hoodie sleeve carefully adjusted over his left arm, eyes scanning for any sign of weakness. I stayed calm, collected, strategic. "So," I began, voice casual but steady, "I've been reviewing some of the videos and receipts from the past few months. It's fascinating how perspective can change with the right context." Mom's eyes flicked to mine. Dad's brows knitted together. Fogg's smirk faltered slightly, just enough for me to notice. "Context?" Mom asked, her voice sharp. "What do you mean?" I smiled, opening my laptop. "Let me show you." I pulled up the raw footage of the night of the alleged basement incident. The video showed me on a call with a client, completely calm, while Fogg staged the fall with a heavy backpack. Every frame was time-stamped. Every motion matched the documented proof I had collected. I watched their expressions shift. Mom's face paled. Dad's jaw tightened. And Fogg, his carefully constructed mask began to crack. I continued, calmly, systematically, presenting each piece of evidence. Screenshots of conversations where Fogg admitted to staging incidents with friends. Receipts and bank statements proving misused funds. Photographs and timestamps showing inconsistencies in his stories about school, hikes, and weekend activities. Neighbor and friend testimonies corroborating my timeline. Each revelation landed like a hammer. The room was heavy with tension. The quiet murmurs, the sharp intakes of breath, the occasional clench of a fist, they all testified to the slow, crushing realization that they had been deceived. Fogg tried to respond, of course. He attempted his usual charm, tears and hushed whispers, but I was ready. I had anticipated his every move. Each attempt to manipulate was countered with concrete evidence. Each lie was met with undeniable proof. I I don't, he stammered, faltering. Stop, I interrupted, voice firm. You've been manipulating everyone for months. You staged incidents, lied about finances, fabricated abuse, and poisoned our family. I have proof. Everything. The video, the messages, the receipts, the witnesses. Every lie you told is documented. His eyes widened. Mom clutched her tissue, her breathing uneven. Dad rubbed his forehead, silent, absorbing the truth. The room was silent, tense, almost unbearable. Fogg's smirk was gone, replaced with panic. The confidence he had wielded for years evaporated under the weight of truth. That night, after dinner, I watched as Fogg retreated to his room, doors slamming behind him, heavy with anger and disbelief. Mom and Dad sat in silence. The house felt different, charged, electric. The balance had shifted. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction, but also exhaustion. The battle wasn't over. Fogg was clever. He might retaliate, try to twist reality again. But now, the foundation was laid. The truth was documented, undeniable, and ready to defend itself. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe. The poison had been exposed. The narrative was mine to control. And yet, the emotional toll was heavy. The betrayal had cut deep. I realized that even with proof, rebuilding trust wouldn't be immediate. The next steps would be critical. I spent the next days organizing everything, preparing for the final confrontation. I knew Fogg wouldn't give up easily. He would push, test, try to reclaim his narrative. I had to be ready, calm, precise, unyielding. I practiced my words. I rehearsed the order of evidence presentation. I anticipated their reactions. I had one goal: to reclaim my home, my family, and my truth. And then, one morning, as I watched him eat breakfast with that familiar smug grin, I realized he was already panicking. The first crack had appeared. The smirk faltered when he noticed me reviewing the evidence folder. A subtle glance, a flicker of doubt. Finally, I thought, the war was about to reach its climax. And this time, I would not lose. I woke that morning feeling the weight of inevitability pressing down on me like the cold Denver sky. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a courtroom, every corner a witness, every shadow a jury. Today, I would confront Fogg, my parents, and the years of lies and manipulation that had stolen everything I thought I had. I set up the living room carefully. Laptop open, folders of evidence meticulously arranged, receipts, screenshots, video files, timestamps, witness statements, all ready. This wasn't about anger. This was about truth. I needed precision, clarity, and control. If I lost my cool, Fogg would twist it again. Mom walked in first. Her eyes were red, but more attentive than they had been in months. Dad followed, silent, tense, arms folded. Fogg lingered behind the doorway, hoodie sleeve adjusted over his left arm, posture casual, but I could see it in his eyes, nervousness, fear, a crack in the mask. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the couch. "All of you." They obeyed, uncertainty buzzing in the air like static electricity. I began calmly, deliberately. For months, I've been accused of things I did not do. I've been painted as a villain in my own home, accused of hurting my brother, accused of being negligent, selfish, manipulative. I have spent countless hours documenting everything, and tonight, the truth will be clear. I clicked a folder on the laptop. The first video played. Raw footage from the night of the alleged basement incident. Every frame showed me on a client call, calm, my voice measured, gesturing. The thud Fogg claimed happened was nothing more than him dropping a heavy backpack behind him, every motion time-stamped, every frame irrefutable. Mom gasped. Dad's jaw tightened. Fogg shifted in his seat, his confident posture faltering. I continued, moving systematically through the evidence. screenshots of conversations where Fogg admitted to staging incidents with friends, financial records showing months of misused funds, gaps in the shared account that had been attributed to lost wallets or school fees, photos and timestamps showing inconsistencies in his claims about school events, hikes, and birthdays, witness statements from friends and neighbors corroborating my timeline. Each revelation landed like a hammer. Every piece of proof meticulously dismantled the narrative Fogg had constructed over months, even years. He tried to speak. "Mist, that's not—" "Stop," I interrupted, calm but firm. "I've anticipated every excuse, every deflection. You've lied, manipulated, and poisoned the people who were supposed to trust you. The evidence is here, and it doesn't lie." For the first time, I saw the fear in his eyes. The smirk was gone, replaced by panic. He tried to argue, to twist the truth again, but every lie he uttered crumbled under the weight of undeniable proof. Mom's tears came next, not of sorrow, but of realization. She covered her mouth with trembling hands. I didn't see it. I just believed him," she whispered. Dad rubbed his forehead, silent, taking in the magnitude of what had been revealed. He turned to me, expression heavy with regret. "Mist, we didn't realize." I shook my head. "You didn't see it because he made it invisible. That's what manipulation looks like. He's been rehearsing this for months, perfecting every lie, every tear, every hushed conversation. He turned you against me without ever raising a hand." Fogg's arms dropped to his sides. He slumped, defeated. The confidence he had wielded like a weapon for years evaporated. I could see now that the victory he thought he had was slipping through his fingers. I paused, letting the weight of the evidence sink in. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. The house, once vibrant with laughter, now hummed with the tension of exposure. "I've loved you all," I said finally. "I've given my time, my energy, my heart. I've tried to protect this home, this family. And for months, I've been vilified for doing exactly that. But the truth cannot be erased, and the lies cannot hold." Mom's sobs shook the room. Dad leaned back in his chair, eyes distant, thinking, reflecting. Fogg, pale and silent, finally muttered, I didn't mean—" "You meant what?" I asked softly, voice steady but cutting. "You meant to destroy trust? You meant to manipulate your family for your advantage? Because that's exactly what you did." For the first time, he looked small, vulnerable. The carefully constructed mask he had worn for months crumbled in the face of evidence. And I realized, the real battle wasn't just proving the truth, it was reclaiming the life I thought was mine. Over the next hour, I went through every incident, every lie, every piece of manipulated evidence. Mom and Dad listened, shocked, horrified, finally seeing the full extent of what had been happening behind closed doors. Fogg tried to respond, tried to twist, but every argument fell flat. Every lie was met with documented proof. By the end, the room was silent, heavy, tense, but honest. The fog of deception lifted. My parents finally looked at me, not with suspicion, not with doubt, but with understanding. Relief mingled with guilt in their eyes, but the truth was undeniable. I stood, exhausted, but resolute. This house is mine. I've built it, maintained it, and protected it. And now, so will the truth. We can rebuild this family, but it starts with honesty. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more poisoning of trust. Mom reached for my hand, trembling. We're sorry, Mist. We didn't see it." Dad nodded, still quiet, but his eyes finally met mine with recognition. Fogg sat silently, hoodie sleeve hiding his face, finally realizing that his carefully constructed web of lies had collapsed. I didn't feel triumph. I felt relief. I felt the first glimmer of peace in months. That night, the house felt lighter. The weight of lies lifted, replaced with the tentative steps of rebuilding. Trust would take time. Fog would have to prove himself, but the foundation was no longer poisoned. I looked around the living room, the walls that had witnessed laughter, betrayal, and manipulation. This was still my home, my sanctuary. And now, for the first time in months, it felt like it could be again. I knew the battle had been won, not through anger, not through shouting, but through patience, evidence, and the unshakable belief in truth. The poison had been exposed. The family could heal. And I was finally free.